And welcome back, everyone. Welcome to this lovely Monday evening. This lovely Tuesday evening here in the land of Australia. Welcome to our second broadcast of the day. Earlier, we were live with some ESL Open Cup Americas, and we had some pretty intense, pretty insane series, really strong performances by a lot of players. And I want to spoil too much, but if you weren't there, we had an amazing time, and I highly recommend checking out those VODs. But here tonight, you know, it's late. It's time to get a little bit rowdy. It's time to get a little bit funky. As tonight's tournament is going to be the Funky Maps Open MMR #1. A little bit of a mouthful, but for those of you who were here last week, we did host, or we did cast, another Funky tournament. It was the Funky 6K Open. It was a tournament that Dave Testa did organize, and it was restricted to players that were 6K MMR or below. So it was an MMR restricted event, and it featured some of the newer maps. A lot of new maps. It was too much to keep track of, to be honest. It was like 12 unique maps or something. There were so many to go through, and we had a lot of fun. We saw some really interesting stuff as well. And for those again who maybe are a little bit unawares as to what's happening in the current scene, in the current StarCraft ecosphere, is that the Team Liquid map contest has begun. And this is the process. This is the iteration process of basically getting new maps on the map pool, getting new maps on the ladder. We go through a submission phase, which did end a couple of days ago, and currently we are in the judging phase of the new maps. And a lot of maps have been submitted, and we featured them last week. And Dave, because there are just so many maps, wanted to host a second tournament to feature even more maps that we didn't get to see in the first tournament. So it just goes to show how many maps were submitted and how much you have to go through. And even here, even though we're about to go through some new maps right now, there's still even more that we just haven't been able to showcase. And it's pretty intense. The overall judging process, it's not open to the public from my understanding. I believe they have some internal judges that go through all the maps. They kind of get their own ranking, and then afterwards it's the public voting, and that's going to be like in a couple of weeks. In a couple of weeks, the votings will be open, and then myself, you in the chat, we can all take part and pick and choose what our favorite maps are going to be. And then there's like an iteration process. The map makers, they get some feedback, they go over the maps once again, they fix any kind of corrections, anything that was kind of caught, like any kind of glitches on the map, or again any kind of advice that would maybe make it a better map. So yeah, it's a pretty cool process overall that that the map makers do go through, and that the TLMC is. And of course, at the end of it is the Wardy TV TLMC map contest tournament as well. That's going to be like the big event on the horizon that really just shows everything to a wider audience, But of course, before all that, we have a smaller tournament here, the Funky Map Open. Oh boy. So unlike the previous tournament, this is not region. It isn't region locked either. It is not locked via MMR. So it's open to all pro players, and because of that, we have some other big names that did show up for this tournament as well. I know last week we had players like Demi, we had Jomek, we had Homura as well, and a lot of others. Oh god, the Polish Protoss player used to be in my mind. Not Cristiano. Maybe I'm just thinking of Jomek. I think we had Arrogfire and we had Extra Striker. Those are the two. Arrogfire and Extra Striker as well. So quite a lot of players in last week's event, but now we have some others instead. And as you can see here, we're going to be casting our first matchup of the day. It's going to be a bit of a PvT between Arrogfire and Homura. And I'll be honest, I know nothing about Homura. I'm coming in a little bit blind here. I'm not too familiar with them. Apparently they are teamless, but regardless, a lot of amazing games are going to be played. And once again, we have to, like, it took almost the entire broadcast. Like last week, the broadcast was like 6 hours. It was a 6-hour broadcast of the last tournament. It was an insane tournament. And we were able to finally like settle in and get used to the new maps. Now we're gonna do it again because we got a brand new map pool. Let's go. And speak of a new map pool, massive shout out to SWPro1 in the chat. Thank you so much, Papi. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. Welcome everyone who's joining us from SWPro stream. Definitely consider checking them out. They do have some great StarCraft there. And if you're just tuning in, this is a very special tournament, which is going to be featuring some very special maps. Oh, let's go, Papi. Let's go. As we are going to be diving on in. Oh, just beat a 5.4k Terran. Oh, let's go. Nice. Good job, Papi. Good job. Good to hear. Good to hear. Oh my god, this is bright. Because spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Maganatha. Not to be confused with Jagannatha. Maganatha. Oh, this is not going to get weird. We have the red Terran player. It is Homura. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Maganatha, we have his opponent. We have the French Protoss player representing Alpha X. It is Arrogfire. Maganatha, all right. Oh boy, and I imagine we're going to be seeing some similarities here to Jagannatha, but before we can get too ahead of ourselves, no, oh god! We do see Homura going for a bit of a proxy racks across the map in the natural base of Arrogfire. Arrogfire is completely unaware, and I'm gonna hopefully be able to go through the map a little bit to try and figure out what is going on before the game ends. Aye. So you see a couple of Xel'Nagas. Oh, we're making use of that feature once again. You love to see it. Just like on altitude, we do have some Xel'Naga towers in the middle of the map, but they can be crushed by these cooling towers, and you have to destroy the debris on the ground, and then you can expand, and then you can actually take the base itself. So it is one of those unique features that is on altitude. You don't see it too often come into play, but regardless, it is great to see. This is actually a pretty insanely large map. Oh my god. And I can't remember the last time we had a setup like this in the middle of the map either. As it looks like the proxy has been revealed, and I want to spend more time on this map because there are speed zones as well, and I guess that's where the kind of Jagannatha tribute comes into play, as we have speed zones on the edges of the map. But before that happens, we do see a bunker on the way. We see our Reaper as well. This is designed to delay this natural base for as long as possible. You know, back across the map, we do see Homura going for his transition. So again, this isn't designed to kill, this is just designed to maim in a way, to again slow down the economy, get ahead, and wreak a little bit of havoc here, as we do see the Reaper dipping into the main base trying to get a probe kill, and looks like it will get one. One probe will go down. Meanwhile, again, at least the bunker wasn't able to finish, otherwise it would have been disastrous. And ooh, a little bit of miscontrol from Homura. Despite getting in with his Reaper, does get surrounded and does lose it to only 2 probes. Again, that should not really be happening, so a little bit of a misstep. And now we do see Arrogfire can expand. The second Reaper does pop out. It's gonna, oh no! Arrogfire killed the probe! A little bit of miscontrol there from Arrogfire as well, as he does eventually kill the Reaper. But you know what it was? It was, hey, you're not killing my worker, I'm killing my worker. You're not gonna have the satisfaction of killing one of my boys. I'll do it myself. Oh, Arrogfire, please. As that probe was just about to die as well to the Reaper, so I guess maybe it's more honorable as a Protoss to die to the hands of your own brethren. I don't know. As we do see the probe scout in the main base getting a full scout, confirming not just a factory, but also the double gas opener, confirming the starport and the CC on the high ground. So Arrogfire is at least aware it's not going to be a one base all-in follow-up. And that means we can spend some time here. So again, this map is honestly feeling pretty large. We got 6 bases on either side. We have, of course, the goal base as well. This feels like a 2v2 map. Like the fact that we have like these center bases that are somewhat close to each other. Because of this, you know, I'm envisioning late game like Skytoss against Zerg, for example. Like Tempest laying siege over this kind of cliff face and across towards the bases of the Zerg. Likewise, you know, we even have not just rocks here to destroy, but also on top of that, towers to rebuild these rocks basically and throw down another layer of defense, which is oh my god, which is insane. Same here on the left hand side as well. Not quite a tower, but a rock tower specifically instead, which I think has different HP to the cooling tower. I could be wrong. It could just be an aesthetic difference. Ooh. As the Stalkers are across the map, just going to be poking in towards the main base. There is a Cyclone, so we are going to be safe, and the Liberator was scouted by Arrogfire, so he recalls back home. Stalkers are getting ready for said Lib. Meanwhile, the follow-up is going to be an interesting one. We do have Twilight Council into Blink. We do have that 4-gate setup as well, so 4-gate Blink. Going to be quite aggressive here from Arrogfire. He's going to be zooming across the map as soon as he has cleaned this up, and going to be looking to try and punish this. When it comes to Blink, interesting. We do have quite a wide entryway into the main base when it comes to the Reaper Cliff, and I believe this may mess up Blink as well, because this pathway or this kind of cliff area is quite thick as well. I'm pretty sure a Stalker can Blink from the low ground all the way up to the high ground, onto the second layer of altitude. I didn't want to say altitude, but of altitude. But yeah, interesting nonetheless, especially because there's no like other kind of Blink entry point either into the main. We may actually get to see that come into play, as of course Arrogfire is pumping out his Warp Prism. Is going to be zooming across the map with all of these Stalkers. As Liberator in the main does go down. Meanwhile, there's more towers. There's so many more towers. Oh my god. The creator of this map. And another one here. Rock tower just outside the Zonaga. This tower's everywhere. All the rocks, Papi. All the rocks. Jesus. This feels like a really oppressive macro map. This feels like a Protoss player's wet dream, not gonna lie. In a PvZ at least. And potentially a TvZ as well. My god. So do see Arrogfire pushing out across the map here. Does confirm at least the tanks on the low ground. We do already have 3 tanks. And this observer is giving Arrogfire vision of the main base. So he does see at least all the tank positioning. Can go into the main potentially, but is actually focusing on the natural instead. The Marines out of position. Marines move away. The tank goes down immediately. Stim is not quite done. And Arrogfire just has a little bit too much. The boys have to be pulled, but we blink on forward once again. We get the second tank. We're going to be taking some tank shots to the face, but GG gets called, and Arrogfire takes game number 1. Oh, GG. Altitude is a trigger word at this point. I was thinking of another word. Elevation. There we go. Different points of elevation is what I was thinking of. My brain just defaulted to altitude. Oh boy. But yeah, Maganatha. It's an interesting one. I think oh my god. I'm just now looking at the minimap of Maganatha, and you know how we saw those rocks? There's more, actually. It looks like there's like 4 more sets of rocks. Oh my god. I say rocks, 4 more sets of towers to power down. Jesus Christ. So we saw only the tip, Papi. We only witnessed the tip, and there's so much more available on Maganatha, and hopefully we get to see more of that map later on, as game number 2 is going to be taking place on a very interesting name by a map maker that I'm not familiar with. This is Ultra Love. Oh my. Are we referring to Ultralisks? Or are we just really in love with something? We're about to find out. As spawning in the top right hand corner of Ultra Love, we have the red Terran player. It is Homura. Rock and Stone. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Ultra Love, I believe a map made by TAC. It is the French Protoss player representing Alpha X, Arrogfire. Oh my god, let's go. I don't think we've seen that before. We're not just in the depths of space, we are in the void. Is that the graphical effect for Oh my god, the old Wings of Liberty spell from the mothership. It's all over the place. What's it called? It's been so long. But you know what I'm talking about. The ability that sucks everything in and then eventually disperses everything out. Vortex, there we go, the Vortex. Yeah. That looks like the grapple effect for the Vortex. As of course we are going to be getting into this. The towers are triggering me now. But at least this time, talking about the game a little bit to begin with, we do have a typical Rax expand setup here. Only a single gas has been taken, so Homura is going to be going for a much more economic opener, which means we'll be given a little bit more time to appreciate the map itself. Meanwhile, back at home, we do have a gate expand setup. Oh no, I think that was, sorry, a gate cybercore first into expand setup from Arrogfire. Nothing too crazy though, nothing too crazy, and we can take this moment to appreciate the map itself here. The main base, once again, kind of a wide entryway into the main base. As we are going for a 2x opener. I'm just quickly checking to see if Homura said anything. We don't have the largest of main bases here compared to some of the other maps that we've seen so far, and we do see the first Reaper zooming across the map. Boy, I'm just kind of I'm trying to get a feel for like the dead space as well in between the bases, and there's not too there's quite a bit of it actually here behind the mains. There's quite a bit of dead space. Likewise here outside the natural base as well, which I know Ash was talking about TVP specifically, about drop play and keeping things like medevacs alive here. Yeah, I think you can totally keep one alive out of range of stalkers, for example, to dive in for mine drops. But yeah, we do have a relatively open, as I say, an open triangular third base. We also have towers that we can knock down to make the space actually pretty secure. We can knock down these towers and we're on the high ground everywhere else. We have ramps on the left and right hand side, so this space is actually looking pretty, or can be pretty well fortified if we do knock down those rocks. Here, the linear third base, a little bit more open, but as I say that, likewise, we have rocks here towards the north. We have another ramp that we can maybe try and take advantage of, but of course we're going to be walling here instead, at least as a Protoss player. Maybe a Terran can be a little bit more ambitious with their army positioning. Once again, though, more rocks can be knocked down here to just make the attack path that much more awkward. Were these two map makers in cahoots, Papi? It's just rocks all over the place, or towers all over the place. Just knock them all down. Just wall everything off, Papi. Let's go. When it comes to the fringe bases, pretty interesting. They're actually quite narrow. I don't know. It looks a little bit jarring here. I can't remember the last time we've seen like a corner base be this narrow before, which could lead to some interesting fights. I'm thinking of like split map scenarios here. I'm thinking of how we have high ground and we have a ramp to take advantage of. So this could be a pretty contentious spot later on. There's just so much. There are just so many ramps. Like there's just so much like elevation here and there throughout the middle of the map. Even here, it's crazy. Like this feels like a Terran player wet dream. We spoke about this before, but even if there are a lot of different attack paths, and it is relatively open here in the middle, but even here, like, even the quote-unquote open area of the map has some narrow choke points as well that can be taken advantage of. So, as opposed to for the current meta, like Altitude or Ancient Cistern, where we have these big open spaces in the middle, because of all these choke points and because of all these ramps, it does mean that, like, this is going to cater to late game in a bit of a different way. Like, not just late game because it's so large and the rush distance is so long, but also because it's so defensible. Like, I can see a lot of like split map scenarios, for example. And it does give an edge to, like, you know, the Terran and Protoss when it comes to their Sim City and their fights as well. So pretty interesting. We saw a similar map as well, only one similar map in the last tournament, which also had like so many staircases and so many ramps going up and down in the middle, that looked like insane. Of course, this is like to the next level because you've got all like the elevation points, and then on top of that, you also have towers everywhere that you can knock down. And I'm pretty sure this is a bigger map than the one we saw last week as well. Last week the map was quite smaller, and we were kind of attributing it a little bit more to near humanity as a result. Meanwhile, it was a 3x opener. Thankfully, we didn't push out. But it was a 3x setup here from Homura, so we have a mass amount of bio. But this is a late push. Even though it was a 3x opener, we actually still waited for the factory and the starport as well. So this push is going to be far later than, I think, normal. And this also gets scouted and confirmed by Arrogfire as well. We have a Zelnaga here in the middle of the map. I did just realize that. 2 Zelnagas, 1 on each side. Army has been spotted. Arrogfire is getting ready back at home. Was another Twilight Council. Sorry, it was a Stargate opener into a Twilight Council. The Oracles haven't been able to do too much, to be honest, and 1 Oracle is going to be going down. But we're buying time. Stasis Trap goes off. We almost. Oh, we do have a medevac getting sniped as well. We have a shield battery. We have an overcharge, and these Stalkers are having a field day right now. They do force a stim, but there is that force field, and this is what we were talking about. Like these ramps, like how do you push up them? You can't, and not with this. As the Marines get picked off one after another, we do have a drop into the main base as well. But alas, we're gonna get maybe 1, maybe 2 Stalkers before this gets cleaned up. Like we've seen maps like this before, like these kind of low ground center areas where, depending on the Protoss positioning, like you just get pulled apart here from both ends. With that, Homura is forced back. You know what? At least we have a 3rd base behind this. You know, we're not all in by any means. 3rd TC is on the way. Additional Raxes as well. The problem is that Homura does give up a lot of map control. Homura lost 2 medevacs. Lost 2 medevacs and a good chunk of Marines. And as a result, we don't really have too much map control. We can't really be too active. We do see a bit of a main out over towards the 3rd base. This is going to be spotted by Arrogfire Oracle. With this, Arrogfire can also see and confirm the 3rd CC. But Arrogfire should be feeling pretty safe to just defend back at home. Slowly take a 4th base as well. Work up towards some splash damage. We have Robotic Spay on the way for Colossi. Eventually to get into Disruptors. So Arrogfire is feeling pretty comfortable. Pretty damn comfortable. But as Homura takes his 3rd base, we were kind of bringing this up earlier as we do see a scan here at the 3rd. It is insanely defensible because of this ramp and because of this choke point as well with the cooling tower that can be knocked down. So Homura should also be safe here on 3 bases. As he is going to be setting up back at home, getting to biomine. Let's go for another scan at the natural. Does get eyes on the 2nd robo, and this should be a tell that there's a Robotic Spay at least on the way, and there should soon be Colossi coming out. Thankfully, Homura is already working on Vikings. He's going to have a decent army composition to deal with this. I'm loving the blue aesthetic choice, though, by the way. Like, aesthetically, I really appreciate it. It's been a while since we've seen something like this. And again, oh my god, we even have like we have like the Kala just like floating on just under the surface. We have like these energy streams. You love to see it. I say Kala, like this reminds me of like the Protoss like dreadlocks sort of thing. They're all connected through Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi of the Protoss. See if we can find something else. Yeah. Oh my god, we've got like some sonic storms in the background as well. That actually looks pretty sick. Let's do a quick pan. Can we find any other neat things? Oh my god, it's like pulsating. As both players are just hurling up on 3 bases, you know, making sure that we're not missing anything too major. We do see Arrogfire pushing out across the map. The rocks have not been knocked down. Oh, and the mines are not quite in position either. We don't want to push out though. We don't want to use this choke point against us. Yosel's coming in from the right-hand side. Mines are a little bit far back. The tower goes down and Arrogfire is going to be rotating over towards the left-hand side, bypassing the army. Oh, and Homura is out of position. We do see the force fields. And once again, Homura cannot push in. Oh no! The Colossi are going to be able to just lay siege upon these mines. And they're all gonna go down. Unfortunately, because of the 3x opener, we didn't have any tanks to work with either, which I do think would work far better on this map. Like, a couple of tanks siege up here on top of the ramps would be insane. But alas, Arrogfire is going to be pushing on forward. A massive Nova connecting with the army. Oh no! Another massive Nova connecting with the other army. GG gets called, and Arrogfire does take game number 2 and takes the series 2-0. GG. Aye. 2 games in a row, Arrogfire killed some of his own units, but it's okay, you know, really it's a power move overall. GG. Shout out to Homura for competing in this. Again, I'm not too familiar with him. I think they're more of an amateur player, but they put up a good fight, and again, they're just giving us another avenue to have a look at some of these other newer maps and, you know, try and soak it all in. Aesthetically, I do appreciate this map a lot more than Maganatha. And it's kind of interesting how they both had really similar... what's the word that I'm thinking of? I don't know. They had similar... Not aesthetics. That's not what I'm going for. But like similar features, that's it. Like they're both like these large macro maps, an abundance of bases to be taken, a lot of choke points as well, and they do make use of those towers. Obviously Ultra Love kind of takes it to a bit of a different level, as they are, you know, utilizing choke points and the terrain far more in favor of positional play. Maganatha a little bit less so, a little bit more open in comparison. I think the biggest difference that I didn't really get to talk about Maganatha is that for Maganatha, once all the towers and rocks get cleaned up, it does look pretty open as a map, and it does mean that things will shift in favor of the Zerg player as the game goes on, whereas that isn't as applicable to Ultra Love, despite the fact that apparently we're meant to love Ultras, which I don't think this is a good Ultra map. Aye. The name, it's